Last Friday, my son-in-law Tyler said my car needed maintenance before my weekend trip to Portland. I'm Christine Brennan, 65 years old, and I said, "Thank you, sweetheart, that's so thoughtful." The next day, when I bent down to pick up my purse in a parking garage, I found a GPS tracker stuck to the underside of my vehicle. I didn't confront him. I didn't call the police. Instead, I quietly removed it and attached it to a semi-truck heading to Vancouver, Canada. 48 hours later, I received a call from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police saying they'd arrested a man carrying my photograph and detailed instructions on how to kidnap me. If you're listening from somewhere far away, drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this has traveled. And please, stay with me until the end. Let me back up and tell you how a 65-year-old black widow from Portland, Oregon, ended up outsmarting a professional con artist who thought my age made me invisible. My name is Christine Marie Brennan. I've been a widow for 2 years, 7 months, and 18 days. My husband Thomas died of a stroke while watching the evening news. Quick, unexpected, no hospital bills. Thomas was a postal worker for 38 years. Steady job, decent pension. What people didn't know was that while he delivered mail, I was delivering investment returns that would make most financial advisors weep. I taught high school American history at Jefferson High School for 35 years, but that was just my day job. My real education came from my father, who taught me that the stock market doesn't care what color your skin is. It only cares if you're smart enough to make it grow. I started with $50 a month for my teaching salary. By the time Thomas died, I'd built a portfolio worth $8.2 million. Thomas knew we were comfortable. He didn't know we were wealthy. And after he died, I kept it that way. Because the minute people know you have money, they start circling like vultures. Take my son-in-law, Tyler Bradford. 3.5 years ago, my daughter Jasmine brought him home for Sunday dinner. Jasmine is my only child, 32 years old, and she has my grandmother's gift for seeing the best in people, which means she's dated every wrong man in Portland. Tyler seemed different. 38 years old, handsome, worked as a financial planner at Premier Financial Planning downtown. He brought me purple irises, my favorite flowers. He asked thoughtful questions. He made Jasmine smile. Over the next 6 months, Tyler became family. He'd bring wine to Sunday dinners, ask about my week, offer financial advice that seemed helpful rather than condescending. "Christine," he'd say, "have you thought about diversifying your portfolio? With interest rates where they are, you might want to consider moving some assets around." I thought he was being professionally helpful. Now I realize he was conducting reconnaissance. It was small questions at first. "Do you have a financial advisor? Have you updated your estate planning since Thomas passed? What kind of investments did Thomas leave you with?" I'd answer vaguely, "We're comfortable." Thomas planned ahead. But Tyler was patient. He was playing the long game. Last Thanksgiving, 14 months ago, Tyler proposed to Jasmine at my dining room table. The ring was beautiful, a 2-carat princess-cut diamond that must have cost $30,000. Jasmine cried. I cried. I pushed aside the thought that the ring seemed extravagant for a financial planner's salary. Tyler suggested Jasmine move back into her childhood bedroom while they planned the wedding. "It'll be good for both of you," he said. "Christine shouldn't be in this big house alone." It seemed thoughtful. It was strategic. With Jasmine living under my roof, Tyler had access to my routines, my schedule, my mail. He'd come for dinner 3 times a week, help with computer problems, volunteer to organize Thomas's financial files. I let him. I was grateful for the help. Then last Friday, Tyler made his first mistake. Friday evening, Tyler called around 6 o'clock. "Christine, I noticed you're due for an oil change. When's the last time you had full maintenance done?" I was driving to Portland Saturday morning, a trip I made monthly to meet with Henderson Financial Group, 3 hours each way. "Maybe 3 months ago?" "Let me take your car to my guy tonight. I'd hate for something to happen to you on the road." Jasmine called from the kitchen. "Mama, you should let Tyler do this. He knows about cars." I handed over my keys. "Thank you, sweetheart. That's thoughtful." He brought the car back at 9:15 with a detailed explanation. Oil filter, brake pads, tire rotation, fluid levels. Even washed and vacuumed. I thanked him. I went to bed thinking I was blessed. Saturday morning, I left at 7:30 for Portland. My 9:30 meeting with Henderson Financial Group went perfectly. The Riverside Properties acquisition was moving forward. $1.2 million added to my commercial real estate holdings. I left the meeting at 11:15, walked to the parking garage juggling my purse, phone, parking ticket, and coffee. The purse strap broke, worn thin from years of use, choosing this exact moment to fail. Everything exploded across the concrete. Wallet, lipstick, keys. My keys bounced under the Lexus. I got on my knees, which at 65 requires planning, and bent down to retrieve them. That's when I saw it. Fresh scratches on the undercarriage. Bright silver metal showing through the factory coating. My father was a mechanic. I knew the difference between road damage and deliberate tampering. Attached to the undercarriage was a small black device, size of a deck of cards, with a blinking green LED light. Silent Tracker Pro printed on the side. Someone had put a GPS tracker on my car. The only person who'd had access in 24 hours was Tyler. I didn't touch it. Not yet. I sat back, processing. 2 choices: panic and call police, or be strategic. I pulled out my phone. 17 photographs from every angle. Serial number. Exact placement. Fresh scratches. Car VIN. Time-stamped everything and emailed myself. Found suspicious device, October 21st, 2023, 11:47 a.m. Then I drove to Starbucks and Googled Silent Tracker Pro. 30 minutes of research. Real-time GPS tracking. 6-month battery. Motion alerts. $90 on Amazon. Whoever installed it could see exactly where I was right now. Tyler was watching me. I remembered him asking which route I took to Portland, volunteering to help plan my trip, asking if I stayed overnight or drove home same day, and 4 months ago, asking about my life insurance beneficiaries. Just want to make sure Jasmine is properly protected if anything happened to you. At the time, I thought, responsible son-in-law. Now I thought, he was calculating how much I'm worth dead. I sat in that Starbucks parking lot for an hour, thinking. Option 1, call police. Tyler denies everything. No proof. He knows I'm onto him. Option 2, confront Tyler directly. Risk. If he's planning something dangerous, I accelerate his timeline. Option 3, remove tracker. Throw it away. Tyler's signal goes dead. He knows I found it. Or option 4, I drove to Radio Shack. Yes, they still exist. And bought a magnetic case, industrial adhesive, and a prepaid phone. Then I drove to the truck stop on Highway 84, where long-haul drivers stopped before cross-country routes. The plan was simple. If Tyler was tracking me for innocent reasons, nothing bad would happen. But if there was a plan in motion, attaching his tracker to a truck heading somewhere far away would reveal exactly what he was up to. After 40 minutes, I found my target, a freightliner with British Columbia plates. Western Canada Transport, Vancouver to San Diego routes. The driver was inside having coffee. I had maybe 15 minutes. I walked across the parking lot, just another older black woman stretching her legs, and knelt beside the trailer. The GPS tracker came off my car easily. I held it in my hand. That little black box. The green light blinked. I'm watching. Not anymore. I attached it to the Canadian truck's trailer and walked back to my car. My hands were shaking. Lord, I said out loud, if I'm wrong, let this be a funny story later. But if I'm right... I drove home. Jasmine was working late. I sat in my living room with chamomile tea I didn't drink, looking at family photos. Thomas and me on our wedding day. Jasmine as a baby. The life I'd built. If Tyler was planning something, he'd see my car heading north through Washington, crossing into Canada, continuing toward Vancouver. What would he do? I didn't have to wait long. Sunday morning, fog outside my window. I'd barely slept. At 8:47 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number, area code 780. Hello? Mrs. Christine Brennan? This is Sergeant Mitchell Wright with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, Alberta Division, calling from Calgary, Canada. The room tilted. I sat down. Yes? Ma'am? Early this morning, we arrested a man named Vincent Torres at a truck stop outside Calgary. He was behaving suspiciously, and when we searched him, we found a 9mm handgun, zip ties, chloroform, and a photograph of you, along with your home address, daily schedule, vehicle description, and surveillance notes covering several weeks. I couldn't speak. When we confronted Mr. Torres, he demanded to speak with someone named Tyler about payment he was owed. Does that name mean anything to you? Yes, Tyler Bradford. He's engaged to my daughter. Papers rustled. Mrs. Brennan, I need to ask you some questions. Has Tyler Bradford had access to your personal information? Yes. He's been part of our family for 3 years. Has he shown unusual interest in your travel plans? I told him about the GPS tracker, about Tyler's questions, about attaching the device to a Canadian truck. Long silence. Mrs. Brennan, you deliberately led a potential criminal to my jurisdiction. I led a GPS tracker. I had no idea anyone would be waiting for it. Mr. Torres has been cooperative. He was hired through encrypted messaging by someone called TB, Tyler Bradford. Paid $8,000 up front, $25,000 upon completion. His assignment was to intercept you during your Portland trip, stage a kidnapping, and demand $250,000 ransom from your family. The kitchen spun. Mrs. Brennan, did Tyler know about your trip this weekend? Yes. I mentioned it Thursday at dinner. Torres followed the GPS north thinking you'd changed plans. He was waiting for the right moment when our officers spotted him. There's something else. Vincent Torres has done this twice before. His last victim was a 72-year-old woman in Washington state. She died of a heart attack during the staged kidnapping. He served 5 years, released 18 months ago. I was going to be sick. Mrs. Brennan, Torres was supposed to check in every 12 hours. He missed last night's 8 p.m. check-in. Tyler Bradford knows something went wrong. People desperate enough to hire kidnappers don't have safer backup plans. I'm connecting you with Portland police immediately. Contact Detective Sarah Mitchell. Don't be alone with Tyler Bradford. Don't leave your house until police arrive. My daughter, Jasmine. She's with him right now. Is she in danger? I don't think so. He needs her trust. She's valuable because she's my daughter. We're sending Portland PD to your location. Don't answer the door except for police. Don't tell Tyler or Jasmine about this call until you've spoken with Detective Mitchell. After he hung up, I stared at Thomas's coffee mug. World's most adequate husband. My son-in-law had tried to have me kidnapped, had hired a man who'd killed before, had planned to terrorize my daughter with fake ransom demands. My phone buzzed. Text from Jasmine. Morning, Mama. Tyler's making pancakes. Want us to bring you some? I typed, That's sweet, baby. I'm good. You two enjoy your morning. Then I sat at my kitchen table and waited for Portland police, knowing that once I opened that door, nothing would ever be the same. Detective Sarah Mitchell arrived at my house 45 minutes after Sergeant Wright's call. She was a white woman in her early 40s, no-nonsense haircut, sharp eyes that missed nothing. She came with 2 uniformed officers who swept my house for additional tracking devices while we talked in my kitchen. Mrs. Brennan, she said, spreading Sergeant Wright's emailed evidence across my dining table. You're an extremely lucky woman. Most people in your situation don't discover they're being targeted until it's too late. I don't feel lucky, Detective. I feel like a fool for letting this man into my home. Don't. Her voice was firm. Tyler Bradford, or whatever his real name is a professional. This isn't amateur hour. The GPS tracker, the hired criminal, the surveillance notes. This is someone who's done this before. She pulled out a photograph of Vincent Torres, a hard-looking man in his 40s with cold eyes and a scar across his left cheek. Torres is talking. A lot. He's looking at 15 to 20 years for the kidnapping conspiracy, and he knows it. He's giving us everything in exchange for a plea deal. What did he tell you? Tyler contacted him 6 weeks ago through an encrypted app called Shadow Chat. Sent him $8,000 in Bitcoin, promised another $25,000 when the job was complete. Torres's instructions were specific. Wait until you are on the road between Portland and home, intercept your vehicle at a rest stop on Interstate 5, use chloroform to incapacitate you, drive you to a storage unit in Tacoma, and make ransom calls to your daughter demanding $250,000. My stomach turned. A storage unit. He already had a place ready. Storage Unit 247 at Secure Space Storage in Tacoma, Washington. Rented 3 months ago under the name David Mitchell. We've obtained a warrant. Our team is executing a search this afternoon. David Mitchell, I said slowly. Not Tyler Bradford. Detective Mitchell met my eyes. Mrs. Brennan, I don't think Tyler Bradford is his real name either. We're running his fingerprints through the national database, but that takes time. What I need from you right now is information. I need to know everything about Tyler's access to your life, your finances, your routine. For the next hour, I told her everything. The Sunday dinners, the computer help, the financial questions, the way he'd positioned Jasmine back into my house. Every detail I dismissed as thoughtfulness now looked like predatory planning. Mrs. Brennan, I want to bring Tyler in for questioning immediately. We have enough for arrest on conspiracy to commit kidnapping. No, the word came out sharper than I intended. Not yet. Excuse me? If you arrest him now, we get him for the kidnapping plot. But we don't know the full scope of what he's done. How much money has he taken? Are there other victims? Is my daughter safe from legal consequences if she unknowingly helped him? Detective Mitchell studied me. What are you suggesting? Give me 1 week. Let me investigate while he thinks everything is normal. I can access financial records, gather evidence, document everything. Then when you arrest him, you'll have an airtight case for everything, not just the kidnapping. That's dangerous, Mrs. Brennan. If Tyler suspects, he won't. I've been underestimated my entire life, Detective. I know how to play weak when I need to. I leaned forward. My daughter is in love with this man. When you arrest him, it's going to destroy her. The least I can do is make sure he pays for every single thing he's done, not just what we know about today. She was quiet for a long moment. 72 hours. That's all I can give you. And you check in with me twice daily. Any sign Tyler suspects, any threat at all, we move immediately. 72 hours, I agreed. That's all I need. After she left, I sat alone in my house and made a list of everyone I needed to call. At the top, Harold Washington, my accountant. Harold Washington had been doing my taxes for 22 years. He was 68 years old, meticulous as a surgeon, and had the kind of institutional memory that made him dangerous to anyone trying to hide financial crimes. Monday morning at 9 a.m., I called him from my home office with the door locked. Harold, I need you to do something for me, and I need it done quietly. Christine, you sound stressed. What's going on? I need a forensic audit of my accounts going back 3 years. Every transaction, every transfer, anything unusual. And Harold, I think someone's been stealing from me. The silence on his end told me he understood the gravity. How fast do you need this? 48 hours. He paused. All right, I'll clear my schedule. Christine, do you want to tell me who you think is stealing? Not yet. Let the numbers tell the story first. Harold called me back at 6 p.m. that evening. Christine, you need to sit down for this. I was already sitting, but I gripped the edge of my desk anyway. Over the past 14 months, someone has made systematic electronic withdrawals from your primary checking account, totaling $43,517. The number hit me like a physical blow. 43,000? The withdrawals were coded to look like recurring bills. Utilities, insurance premiums, property taxes. The kind of expenses that most people don't scrutinize closely because they're regular and expected. Whoever did this knew exactly how much you typically spend monthly and stayed just under your usual patterns. Harold, the only people who would know that level of detail would be family members or your financial advisor. Yes, papers rustled. Christine, there's more. I found unusual activity on 3 of your investment accounts. Someone with your login credentials has been accessing your account summaries regularly. Not making transactions, just viewing, like they were tracking your total net worth. Can you tell when this started? First login from an unauthorized IP address was February 14th of last year, Valentine's Day. 2 weeks after Tyler proposed to Jasmine. 2 weeks after he gave her that $30,000 ring. Harold, that ring, could he have bought it with my money? More rustling. The largest single withdrawal was February 7th last year, $15,000, coded as a property tax payment. But Christine, you'd already paid your property taxes in January. This was a duplicate transaction that should have triggered fraud alerts, but it was timed perfectly with your actual payment cycle. $15,000, half the cost of Jasmine's engagement ring, purchased with money stolen from me. What else? Smaller amounts consistently. $500 here, $800 there, $1,200. Always under $1,500 to avoid automatic reporting thresholds. Always timed to coincide with legitimate expenses. Christine, this is sophisticated financial theft. Whoever did this understands banking systems, fraud detection algorithms, and your personal spending patterns intimately. I closed my eyes. Send me everything. Every transaction, every date, every dollar amount. I want documentation of all of it. You're going to the police with this. Yes, but first I need to know how deep this goes. After I hung up with Harold, I opened my laptop and pulled up my bank statements, really looking at them for the first time in months. Harold was right. Every fraudulent transaction was hidden in plain sight. Property tax in February, but I'd already paid in January. Homeowner's insurance in May, but my policy renewed in April. Utility payments that were $50 higher than they should be every single month. Tyler had been systematically bleeding me dry, and he'd done it so carefully that I'd never noticed. I printed every statement, highlighted every fraudulent charge, created a spreadsheet with dates, amounts, and what the charges claimed to be versus what they actually were. By midnight, I had 47 pages of evidence documenting theft that totaled $43,517. But I wasn't done yet. Tuesday morning, I called Andrea Stone, my attorney. Andrea was 52 years old, a black woman who'd built her practice defending people the system wanted to ignore. She was brilliant, ruthless, and had zero tolerance for anyone who preyed on the vulnerable. Andrea, I need a comprehensive background check on someone. Deep dive. Everything you can legally access. Christine, what's happening? I told her about the tracker, the kidnapping plot, the stolen money, all of it. Jesus Christ, Christine. Have you called the police? Yes. Detective Sarah Mitchell is on it. But Andrea, I need to know who Tyler really is before they arrest him. I need to know if there are other victims. Give me his full name, date of birth, social security number if you have it, and last known address. Tyler James Bradford, born March 15, 1985. Social Security. I pulled up the copy I'd made of his information when he'd applied for a joint credit card with Jasmine last year. I read off the number. I'll have something for you by tomorrow morning. Andrea called at 8 a.m. Wednesday. Christine, are you alone? Yes. Tyler Bradford isn't his real name. It's an alias. His fourth that I've been able to trace. My blood went cold. Fourth? His real name is Tyler James Morrison, born in Buffalo, New York, 42 years old. Not 38 like he told your daughter. Over the past 12 years, he's operated under at least 4 different identities in 4 different states. Tell me. Identity number 1. Jason Bradford, Miami, Florida, 2015 to 2017. Worked as a financial advisor. Target victim. Helen Park, 59-year-old Korean-American widow. He dated her granddaughter, gained access to Helen's finances, and stole $290,000 before disappearing. I felt sick. Identity number 2. Brandon Hayes, Phoenix, Arizona, 2017 to 2019. Again, financial advisor. Target, Rosa Martinez, 62-year-old Latina widow who owned a successful restaurant. He dated Rosa's daughter, convinced Rosa to let him help restructure her business finances, and stole $385,000. Rosa lost her restaurant. Dear God. Identity number 3. David Mitchell, Seattle, Washington, 2019 to 2021. Target, Margaret Coleman, 68-year-old black widow. Same pattern. Dated the granddaughter, targeted Margaret. Stole $520,000. Christine, Andrea's voice cracked slightly. Margaret Coleman committed suicide 6 months after Tyler disappeared. Her family found a note. She said she couldn't live with the shame of having been so foolish. I couldn't breathe. He killed her. Not legally, but yes. And Christine, here's what makes this even worse. Tyler specifically targets wealthy widows of color. Every single victim has been a woman of color over 55, everyone a widow, everyone worth more than $1 million. He finds them through their daughters or granddaughters, establishes himself as the trustworthy family member, and then systematically destroys them. How much has he stolen total? From the 3 victims I can verify, $1.195 million. And Christine, those are just the ones I found in 2 days. There could be more. I gripped the phone. What happened to him after each theft? Why wasn't he arrested? Helen Park was too ashamed to press charges. Rosa Martinez's daughter convinced her not to pursue it because the legal fees would bankrupt what was left of the business. And Margaret Coleman's family didn't discover the full extent of the theft until after her suicide, by which point Tyler had disappeared completely. He's been operating for over a decade with 0 legal consequences. Andrea, there's something else I need to know. Does he have gambling debts? How did you... Yes. Tyler owes approximately $340,000 to an organization run by Anthony Marchetti. East Coast loan sharks. Very dangerous people. If he doesn't pay soon, they'll come after him. And Christine, if you're married to his fiancée, they could come after your family too. That's why he needed the kidnapping to work. Not just greed, desperation. Andrea, send me everything you found. Every identity, every victim, every dollar amount. I want documentation of his entire criminal history. Christine, you're building a case. Yes, I am. And when I'm done, Tyler Morrison is going to pay for every woman he's destroyed. Wednesday afternoon, I hired Robert Hayes, a private investigator Andrea recommended. Robert was a 53-year-old former Army intelligence officer who specialized in financial fraud cases. Mrs. Brennan, he said when we met at a coffee shop in Beaverton, far from my neighborhood, I've read the background Andrea sent me. This Tyler is dangerous. You understand that? I understand, but I need to know what he's doing right now. Is he panicking? Is he planning to run? Is my daughter safe? I can have surveillance on him within 12 hours, but Mrs. Brennan, if he's planning to flee the country or harm someone, we go to police immediately. Agreed? Agreed. Robert's first report came Thursday evening. I read it alone in my home office while Jasmine was downstairs watching television, completely unaware that the man she loved was a monster. Surveillance report. Thursday, October 26, 2023. Subject: Tyler James Morrison, alias Tyler Bradford, 0900 hours. Subject departed apartment in BMW, drove to office at Premier Financial Planning. Normal arrival time, no unusual behavior observed. 12:15 hours. Subject left office, drove to Jake's Diner on Burnside. Met with two unidentified males, both approximately 50 to 60 years old. Physical description suggests possible criminal associates. Meeting lasted 47 minutes. Subject appeared agitated, defensive body language. One male showed subject his phone. Appeared to be photographs or messages that caused visible distress. Subject left meeting visibly shaken. 14:30 hours. Subject drove to Secure Space Storage, Unit 247, Tacoma, Washington. Remained inside unit for 38 minutes. Exited carrying two large boxes, loaded into BMW trunk. 16:45 hours. Subject drove to private mailbox facility. Mail Center Plus. Uses alias Bradford Consulting LLC for mail reception. Retrieved mail, spent 15 minutes inside. 18:20 hours. Subject returned to apartment. Subject's fiancée, Jasmine Brennan, arrived 18:45 hours. They went to dinner at Clyde's Prime Rib, appeared normal, no signs of distress. Investigator notes: the two males subject met with at Jake's Diner match description of known associates of Anthony Marchetti organization. Facial recognition software identifies them as Vincent Caruso and Daniel Danny Knuckles Rizzo, both with criminal records for loan sharking and extortion. Subject is likely being pressured for debt payment. Storage unit visit suggests possible preparation for flight. Recommend continued surveillance. I called Robert immediately. The men he met with, Marchetti's people. What does that mean? It means his debt collectors are here in Portland. They're applying pressure. That meeting didn't look friendly, Christine. Tyler's scared. What was in the boxes from the storage unit? I couldn't see inside without compromising cover, but based on size and weight, documents, possibly cash. Could be evidence he's destroying or assets he's liquidating. Robert, I need to know what's in that storage unit before police raid it. That's illegal, Christine. I know. I'm not asking you to break in. I'm asking you to surveil who else might visit it, what else Tyler might remove from it, and document everything. Friday's surveillance report was worse. 10:45 hours. Subject visited Wells Fargo Bank, withdrew maximum daily cash limit, $4,997. 12:30 hours. Subject visited Chase Bank, withdrew maximum daily cash limit, $4,998. 15:20 hours. Subject visited Bank of America, withdrew maximum daily cash limit, $5,000. Total cash withdrawn, $14,995. 1,640 hours. Subject purchased one-way airline ticket to Caracas, Venezuela. Departure, Monday, October 30th, 6:15 p.m. No return flight booked. Investigator notes: subject is preparing to flee. Recommend immediate law enforcement intervention. I stared at that report for a long time. Monday. 4 days from now. Tyler was running, and he was leaving my daughter behind to face his debts and his consequences. I called Detective Mitchell. He's booked a flight to Venezuela for Monday evening. Then we arrest him now before he runs. No, I want him at a family dinner tomorrow night. Saturday. I want to confront him with my daughter present. She deserves to hear the truth from his own mouth before you take him away. Christine, that's risky. He won't run before Monday. He's too arrogant. He thinks he's won. And detective, I want to wear a wire. Absolutely not. This isn't a movie, Christine. This is dangerous. Then have officers stationed outside my house. Give me 30 minutes with him. Let me get his confession on record with my daughter present. She needs to see who he really is, not just hear it from police reports. Long silence. You have one chance. If I think you're in danger for even a second, we're coming in. Understood. I hung up and sat in the darkness of my office, thinking about Margaret Coleman, who'd taken her own life rather than live with the shame. Thinking about Rosa Martinez, who'd lost her family business. Thinking about Helen Park, who'd trusted the wrong man. Tyler Morrison had spent 12 years destroying women who looked like me. Women who'd worked their entire lives to build something, only to have it stolen by a predator who thought our age and our kindness made us weak. Tomorrow night, he was going to learn exactly how wrong he was. I picked up my phone and sent a text to Jasmine. Baby, can you and Tyler come to dinner tomorrow night? I want to talk about the wedding budget. I'm thinking about making a larger contribution than we discussed. 7 p.m. Her response came immediately. OMG, Mama, yes. Tyler will be so excited. Love you. I stared at those heart emojis for a long time, knowing that by this time tomorrow, my daughter's heart would be shattered into pieces. But better a broken heart than a destroyed life. Better the truth tonight than a lifetime of lies. I opened my laptop and began preparing my final confrontation. Every document printed, every number verified, every piece of evidence organized in perfect order. Tomorrow night, Tyler Morrison would sit at my table and face every woman he'd ever destroyed. And this time, he wouldn't walk away. Saturday evening, October 28th, 2023, 6:30 p.m. I stood in my kitchen preparing what I privately called the Last Supper. Fried chicken, Tyler's favorite. Macaroni and cheese with the sharp cheddar he loved. Collard greens cooked the way my grandmother taught me. Cornbread still warm from the oven. Sweet potato pie cooling on the counter. If this was going to be our final family dinner, I wanted it to be memorable. Detective Sarah Mitchell had arrived at 5 p.m. to wire me up. A tiny microphone clipped inside my collar, a recording device taped to my lower back, both invisible under my navy cardigan. Mrs. Brennan, she'd said, her hands steady as she adjusted the equipment. You have exactly 30 minutes once Tyler arrives. Get his confession on record. We'll be listening from the van across the street. If anything goes wrong, if you feel threatened, say the phrase, I need to check on the roast. We'll be through that door in 15 seconds. There is no roast, Detective. Exactly. That's how we'll know it's the signal. Now she was gone, positioned with 4 officers in an unmarked van parked 3 houses down. I was alone in my kitchen, setting the table with my best china, the good plates I'd inherited from my mother, the crystal glasses Thomas and I received as wedding gifts 41 years ago, the silver flatware we'd used for every important occasion. My hands shook slightly as I folded the napkins. At 6:55, I heard Jasmine's car pull into the driveway. I took a deep breath, touched the microphone hidden at my collar, and reminded myself why I was doing this. For Margaret Coleman, who took her own life. For Rosa Martinez, who lost everything. For Helen Park, who trusted the wrong man. For every woman who'd been told she was too old, too naive, too trusting to protect herself. The front door opened. Mama, we're here. Jasmine came into the kitchen first, beautiful in a yellow sundress, her face glowing with happiness. Tyler followed, wearing khakis and a blue button-down, carrying a bottle of wine that probably cost more than he could afford, or more accurately, more than he should afford with stolen money. Christine, he said, kissing my cheek with practiced warmth. Something smells incredible. Just a little dinner for my family, I said, accepting the wine. Let's eat while everything's hot. We settled at the dining room table. Tyler poured wine. I noticed his hands were steady, confident. He had no idea what was coming. Jasmine chattered about wedding plans, the venue she loved, the flowers she wanted, the honeymoon they were considering in the Bahamas. Which brings me to why I asked you both here tonight, I said, setting down my fork. I've been thinking about the wedding budget. Tyler leaned forward slightly, interested. Jasmine smiled. Mama, you've already been so generous. I want to increase my contribution, I interrupted. Significantly. But before I do, I need to ask Tyler some questions about our family finances. Since you're going to be my son-in-law officially soon, I think it's time we had an honest conversation about money. Tyler's smile didn't waver. Of course, Christine. I'm happy to discuss anything. Good. I stood up, walked to the sideboard, and picked up the first folder. Let's start with something simple. Tyler, when's the last time you serviced my car? Last Friday. I took it to the shop for you before your Portland trip. Right. And what did they do? Oil change, tire rotation, brake check. All the standard maintenance. I opened the folder and pulled out the first photograph. Then can you explain why I found this attached to my car Saturday morning? I placed the 8x10 photo on the table. The GPS tracker, clear and unmistakable, still attached to my Lexus's undercarriage. Jasmine leaned forward, confused. What is that? Tyler's face went very still. I don't know. Christine, what are you suggesting? I'm not suggesting anything. I'm showing you evidence. I pulled out the next photo. Here's the serial number. ST-PRO-847392, Silent Tracker Pro model. Purchased on Amazon 6 weeks ago using a credit card registered to Bradford Consulting LLC. That's your company, isn't it, Tyler? His jaw tightened. Christine, I think there's been some kind of misunderstanding. Let me help clear it up. I placed the next document on the table. This is a police report from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. On Sunday, October 22nd, they arrested a man named Vincent Torres at a truck stop outside Calgary, Canada. He was carrying a 9mm handgun, zip ties, chloroform, and this. I placed the photograph on the table. My face, printed on standard paper, with my home address, my daily schedule, my vehicle description written in Tyler's handwriting. Jasmine's hand flew to her mouth. Mama, what is this? This is what your fiancé hired Vincent Torres to do. Kidnap me, hold me in a storage unit in Tacoma, and demand $250,000 ransom from you. That's insane! Tyler stood up. Christine, I don't know who this Vincent Torres is, but I never— Sit down. My voice cut like a blade. You paid him $8,000 in Bitcoin on September 14th. You promised him another $25,000 when the job was complete. You rented storage unit 247 in Tacoma under the name David Mitchell 3 months ago, specifically to hold me during the kidnapping. The RCMP has text messages, financial records, and Torres's full confession. So please, Tyler, don't insult my intelligence by lying. He sat down slowly. Jasmine was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. But let's talk about the money, I continued, my voice steady. Because the kidnapping wasn't your first attempt to steal from me, was it? I opened Harold's forensic accounting report. 47 pages, every fraudulent transaction highlighted in yellow. Over the past 14 months, you've stolen $43,517 from my checking account. Small amounts, carefully hidden in fake utility bills and duplicate tax payments. Very sophisticated. Very clever. I slid the report across to Jasmine. Look at the dates, baby. February 7th last year, a $15,000 withdrawal coded as property tax. But I'd already paid my property taxes in January. That money went to buy your engagement ring. Jasmine stared at the diamond on her finger like it was a poisonous snake. May 12th, $1,200, fake homeowner's insurance. June 3rd, $800, duplicate car registration. July 19th, $1,500, non-existent water bill. Month after month, stealing from me while sitting at my table, eating my food, pretending to care about my well-being. Tyler's facade was crumbling. Christine, I can explain. Please do. Explain it to Rosa Martinez. I placed down the next document. You stole $385,000 from her in Phoenix. She lost her restaurant, her business, everything she'd built. Another document. Explain it to Helen Park in Miami. $290,000 stolen. Another. Explain it to Margaret Coleman in Seattle. $520,000. She committed suicide 6 months after you destroyed her life. Jasmine made a sound like a wounded animal. Or explain it to me, I said quietly. Explain why you targeted my daughter to get to me. Explain why you moved her back into my house so you could spy on me. Explain why you asked about my life insurance policy 4 months ago. Were you planning to kill me then? Or was kidnapping always the plan? Tyler's hands were shaking now. All the charm, all the confidence, gone. What remained was desperation and rage. You don't understand, he said, his voice low and dangerous. I owe people money. Dangerous people. $340,000 to Anthony Marchetti's organization. They were going to kill me, Christine. Kill me. I didn't have a choice. You had a choice not to gamble in the first place. You had a choice not to target vulnerable women. You had a choice not to destroy lives to save your own worthless skin. Jasmine stood up, backing away from the table. Tyler, tell me she's lying. Please, tell me this is some kind of mistake. He turned to her, and I saw him make one last calculation, one final manipulation. Baby, I love you. I made mistakes, yes. I was desperate. But I never wanted to hurt anyone. Your mother, she has $8 million. $8 million. She doesn't even need all that money. I just needed enough to survive, to start over, to build a life with you. Is that so wrong? Is that so wrong? I repeated, my voice rising. You hired a man who murdered someone during his last kidnapping. Vincent Torres's previous victim died of a heart attack during the staged abduction. You knew that. You hired him anyway. You were willing to kill me to pay your gambling debts. Jasmine was sobbing now. You said you loved me. You said we were building a future together. I do love you. My name isn't even Tyler Bradford, I shouted. His real name is Tyler Morrison. He's 42 years old, not 38. This is his 4th identity. He's been running this scam for 12 years, targeting women of color specifically. Widows, women he thinks are vulnerable and alone. I stood up, walked around the table, and looked Tyler Morrison directly in the eyes. But you made one mistake. You underestimated me. You thought because I'm 65 and black and a widow, I'd be easy prey. You thought I was too old, too trusting, too grateful for a man's attention to see what you really are. I pulled out the final document. You're not a financial planner. You were fired from Premier Financial Planning 6 weeks ago for attempting to defraud elderly clients. The business card you carry? Fake. The office you claim to work at? You haven't been there since September. Tyler stood up. I need to leave. Sit down, I said calmly, or I'll say the phrase that brings 4 police officers through that door in 15 seconds. He froze. That's right. I'm wearing a wire. Every word you've said for the last 20 minutes has been recorded. The police have been listening to your confession from across the street. You're not leaving, Tyler. You're never leaving. Jasmine turned to me, her face destroyed. Mama, how long have you known? Since last Saturday when I found the tracker. I spent this week gathering evidence. I needed to know everything before I told you. I needed you to hear the truth from his own mouth. Tyler's rage finally broke through. You manipulated me. You set this up. I didn't manipulate anything. I asked questions and you confessed. That's what happens when guilty people think they're smarter than everyone else. I looked at my daughter. Jasmine, I'm sorry you had to see this. I'm sorry your heart is breaking. But better a broken heart now than a destroyed life later. Better you know the truth about who he is than spend years married to a monster who was using you to rob your mother. Tyler lunged toward me. He didn't make it 3 steps. The front door crashed open. Detective Mitchell and 4 uniformed officers flooded into my dining room with weapons drawn. Tyler James Morrison, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit kidnapping, wire fraud, theft, and conspiracy to commit murder. You have the right to remain silent. They cuffed him, reading his rights while he screamed obscenities at me. Jasmine collapsed in a chair, sobbing. I stood perfectly still, watching the man who'd tried to destroy us being dragged out of my house in handcuffs. Detective Mitchell approached me. Mrs. Brennan, are you all right? I'm fine, Detective. We got everything on the wire. His confession, the admission of prior victims, everything. This is an airtight case. Good. After they left, taking Tyler away in a police cruiser, I sat on the floor with my daughter and held her while she cried. We stayed there for hours, surrounded by cold fried chicken and untouched sweet potato pie, while Jasmine's future crumbled and my family began the long process of healing. 3 months later, January 15th, 2024, Federal Courthouse, Portland, Oregon. Tyler Morrison's trial lasted 4 days. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence: GPS tracker records, Vincent Torres's testimony, forensic accounting showing the theft, documentation of his prior victims, recorded confessions from the wire I'd worn. I sat in the front row every single day, wearing my best suit, watching Tyler squirm under cross-examination. Jasmine sat beside me, holding my hand. On day 3, Tyler's public defender made a desperate move. They put Tyler on the stand. "Mr. Morrison," his lawyer began, "please tell the jury why you felt you had no choice but to plan Mrs. Brennan's abduction." Tyler looked thinner, older. Prison had stripped away his polish. "I was desperate. I owed $340,000 to people who threatened to kill me. Anthony Marchetti's organization sent men to Portland. They showed me pictures of my fiancée, Jasmine. They said if I didn't pay, they'd hurt her. I had to protect her. It was a lie, of course. Andrea's investigation had found no evidence that Marchetti's people ever threatened Jasmine. But Tyler was gambling that a jury might feel sympathy. "So you planned the kidnapping to save your fiancé's life?" "Yes. I never wanted to hurt Christine. I just needed money to protect the woman I love." The prosecutor, Patricia Hernandez, stood for cross-examination. She was a 45-year-old Latina woman with the expression of someone who'd heard every lie imaginable. "Mr. Morrison, if you were trying to protect Jasmine Brennan, why didn't you simply ask Mrs. Brennan for help?" I didn't think she'd understand." "You didn't think an intelligent woman who built an $8 million fortune would understand financial pressure? Or did you not ask because you'd already stolen $43,000 from her and knew she'd discover that theft if you approached her directly?" "I made mistakes." "Yes, you did. Let's discuss those mistakes." Hernandez pulled out a document. "In Miami, you stole $290,000 from Helen Park. In Phoenix, $385,000 from Rosa Martinez. In Seattle, $520,000 from Margaret Coleman, who subsequently took her own life. Mr. Morrison, were you protecting Jasmine Brennan when you destroyed those women's lives years before you even met her?" Tyler's face flushed. "That was different." "How? How was it different?" "I was desperate then, too. I've always been desperate." "So your defense is that you've been desperately stealing from elderly women of color for 12 years and we should feel sorry for you?" "Objection!" his lawyer shouted. "Sustained. Ms. Hernandez, rephrase." "Mr. Morrison, Vincent Torres testified that you specifically requested he use methods that had worked before. Did you know that Torres's previous victim died during a staged kidnapping?" Tyler went pale. No, I didn't know." "You didn't know? Then why did you search Vincent Torres' kidnapping Washington State death on your computer 6 weeks before hiring him? When we executed the search warrant on your laptop, we found your complete search history, Mr. Morrison. You knew exactly who he was and what he'd done. You hired him anyway." The courtroom was silent. "You hired a killer to abduct a 65-year-old woman because you needed gambling money, not to protect anyone, not because you had no choice, but because you're a predator who targets vulnerable women and you thought Christine Brennan would be another easy victim." "That's not true." "Then explain the GPS tracker. Explain the storage unit you rented 3 months in advance. Explain the $43,000 you stole while eating at her table and planning her abduction. Explain Margaret Coleman's suicide note that specifically names you as the reason she no longer wanted to live." Tyler had no answers. The jury deliberated for 97 minutes. Guilty on all counts. Judge Harrison sentenced him 2 weeks later. I was there for that, too. "Mr. Morrison," the judge said, looking at Tyler over her reading glasses, "you are a predator who specifically targeted women of color, women who had worked their entire lives to build security, women who trusted you because you exploited their daughters' and granddaughters' love. You showed no remorse, no empathy, no humanity. This court sentences you to 32 years in federal prison with no possibility of parole for 20 years. Additionally, you will pay full restitution to all victims, $1,943,517 plus interest and penalties." Tyler's head dropped. As the bailiff led him away, he turned and looked at me one last time. I met his eyes calmly, thinking of Margaret, Rosa, and Helen. This was for them. 6 months later, July 2024. I stood on the steps of a renovated building in downtown Portland, holding oversized scissors and smiling for the cameras. The sign above the door read, Christine Brennan Center for Elder Financial Protection. Jasmine stood beside me, healthy and strong, no longer the broken woman who'd cried on my dining room floor. She'd spent 4 months in therapy, processing the betrayal, rebuilding her sense of judgment and trust. Now she was the executive director of the foundation, turning her pain into purpose. "Mama," she said, squeezing my hand. "Are you ready?" "I'm ready." I cut the ribbon. Applause from the 50 people gathered, community members, donors, survivors of financial fraud, local media. Inside, the center was beautiful. 3 consultation rooms for legal aid, a classroom for financial literacy workshops, a hotline staffed 16 hours a day, support group meeting spaces, all funded by Tyler Morrison's restitution payments and my own contributions. Detective Sarah Mitchell approached me, smiling. "Mrs. Brennan, this is incredible. How many people have you helped already?" "In the 6 months we've been planning, we've consulted with 43 victims of elder fraud, recovered over $200,000, and taught financial literacy classes to 300 women over 50. An elderly black woman approached, Dorothy Williams, 72, who'd lost $60,000 to a scam artist who'd posed as a Medicare representative. We'd helped her recover $40,000 through legal action. "Mrs. Brennan," she said, gripping my hands, "thank you. Thank you for showing me I wasn't stupid. Thank you for fighting for me." "You're not stupid, Dorothy. You're a survivor, and survivors help each other." That evening, I sat in my living room with a cup of tea, looking at Thomas's photograph on the mantel. "I did it, honey," I said softly. "I turned the worst thing that happened to me into something good. Tyler thought he could destroy me because I was old and alone. Instead, he made me stronger." My phone buzzed. A text from Jasmine. "Mama, I love you. Thank you for saving me. Thank you for teaching me what real strength looks like." I smiled and typed back. "You were always strong, baby. You just needed to remember." I'm Christine Brennan. I'm 65 years old, a black widow, a former teacher, a millionaire investor, and a survivor. Tyler Morrison thought my age made me vulnerable. He thought being a widow made me desperate for attention. He thought being a woman of color meant I'd been underestimated so long I wouldn't recognize when it was happening again. He was right about one thing. I've been underestimated my entire life. But what Tyler didn't understand is that being underestimated is a superpower. When people think you're weak, they don't guard themselves. They make mistakes. They confess to crimes while wearing a wire because they think you're too old and too trusting to outsmart them. I learned something through this ordeal. At 65, I'm not finished. I'm not helpless. I'm not invisible. I'm dangerous in the best possible way. Dangerous to anyone who thinks they can prey on women like me. Margaret Coleman, Rosa Martinez, Helen Park. They deserved better than the shame and silence they got. This foundation is my promise to them. No more silence. No more shame. No more women destroyed by predators who thought age meant weakness. The greatest victory wasn't putting Tyler in prison, though that felt good. The greatest victory was this: transforming from victim to victor, from target to teacher, from someone who'd been attacked to someone who now protects others. Every Saturday morning, I teach a financial literacy class for women over 50. We sit in a circle, black women, Latina women, Asian women, white women, and we share our stories. We learn to spot con artists, protect our assets, trust our instincts. And we remember we are not too old. We are not too trusting. We are not invisible. We are survivors, and we bite back. This morning I had coffee on my porch, watching the sun rise over Portland. I'm 65 years old, worth $8 million, and I've never been happier. Tyler Morrison is in federal prison, and he'll be there until he's 74 years old. Margaret Coleman's family received restitution that helped them heal. Rosa Martinez got her restaurant back. Helen Park's granddaughter speaks at our workshops now, telling other young women how to protect the elders they love. And me? I'm living proof that some women get better with age. We get sharper, stronger, more strategic, and absolutely not to be underestimated. If you're listening to this story from your kitchen, your car, your living room, remember, age is not weakness. It's wisdom. Trust your instincts, document everything, and never let anyone make you feel invisible. Because the world needs older women who refuse to be victims. The world needs us to be warriors.